My name is Blair Pilkington, and I'm the Director of Intervention here at Exodus Cry. And our intervention work at Exodus Cry consists of outreach to victims of trafficking that are still in the sex industry. And so I lead a team of individuals where we actually go to the women in the place of their trouble, meet them there, and offer them options and ways of escape to get out of the commercial sex industry, both here in the United States as well as work that we do internationally. Intervention is truly going to the place where these girls are in their greatest trouble, and it's really standing in the gap in between them and their abusers, in between them and men that would purchase them and exploit them. It's standing between really them and just all that comes at them, the darkness that life actually is. It really is, I think of intervention in terms of it's making intercession on behalf of these girls. It's standing in the gap for them. You know, they're isolated. The only people that come to them, that interact with them, are people that steal from them, whether it's their bodies physically in prostitution, whether it's the Johns, the pimps that exploit them, lure them, recruit them into this, use them for their own gain. Like, people are taking from them. And so as we go to intervene on their behalf, we're literally going to the place of their pain, their shame, and we're saying, I see you for something other than what all these people have taken from you. I see you differently. You're worth something. You have value that is beyond your body, that is beyond sex, beyond what people have taken from you. You have value, and it's meeting them in that place. And that's the place of their greatest fear, shame, pain. That's the place where they're so alone. And so it's really going to them there and just being with them. So at Exodus Cry, our intervention work is really, it's taking action. We're going out and we're looking for these girls. We're seeking them out. We're finding them. We're going to the place where only pimps and Johns go. You know, like, these girls, you say, well, where are victims of trafficking? If the men that buy them for sex can find them, then so can we. And so we are taking aggressive action. We're going into the territory of the enemy, where he's kept them isolated, where he's kept them bound in shame. We're advancing on that territory. We're showing up at the doorstep of where they're selling their bodies. We're saying, hey, we're here. And we want to know you. We want to love you. We want to tell you there's a way out, and we want to help you get out. And so intervention, it's taking action. You know, when you look at Psalm 10, and it's this whole discourse that David writes about injustice, and he talks about the oppressor and how he's aggressively trying to find the vulnerable. And so we have to go and intervene in those moments where they're most vulnerable, find them, seek them out, and say, you know, I want to know your name. Just knowing their name, saying you are seen by someone who cares about you and who wants to help you out, provide you support, give you life skills, give you security. And so you're there, that spark of light, that spark of hope, to speak a word that would just open their eyes, that there is a way out, there's hope, there's a future for me, that I'm not alone. I mean, can you imagine how isolating it is to be in a hotel room for weeks on end, and the only people that you're interacting with you are paying for your body? And so it's just, you're there saying, hey, I came to meet you in that place and say all these words of love and kindness and worth and value that you have. I mean, it is so unlike, sometimes they don't even understand what you're saying. How can you be saying this to me? It doesn't make sense. This doesn't compute into the normal reality of my life. And so it's meeting the practical needs and, loving them in practical ways, as well as loving their heart and speaking that worth and value over them. It's both. When most people see a woman in prostitution, they see a woman who is maybe making easy money or has somehow chosen this lifestyle, has signed up for it. They're out there on their own. No one's tying them to a bed, forcing them to do this. So they must want to be there, because why else would they be there? And I think we really have to see them in a different light and know and get to know who these girls actually are, that most of them entered this life when they were 13, 14 years old. They were an orphan. They were a runaway. They were facing abuse at home, and so they went to the streets. They were maybe uneducated or poor. These are not informed, consenting adults. In order just to survive, they're having to conform to this kind of a lifestyle, make a certain amount of money, or else you're going to get beat down. Do what this man wants, or else he's going to force you. So you might as well do what he wants, accommodate him. I mean, these girls are recruited, they're lured in, they're trained, and they're surviving. And so we have to see behind the facade, because what we see is what these girls want us to see, and they're putting on an act to survive. And so when we come into that place of where they're being exploited, we are looking beyond what's on the outside to the heart of who she is. And we're calling forth her value. We're honoring her and saying, you have dignity. What's your name? Who are you? What's your story? What are your hopes and your dreams? And very few people ask them that. I mean, I think at a certain level, they have to shut down so much of that just in order to make it another day, because, it's hard to keep hoping in that place. And so that's really where we're getting to know these girls and what are their dreams, and then walking alongside of them as they walk towards those dreams. When we go and meet them there, we may have 5 minutes with her on a street corner. We might, just have a brief encounter with her. But in that moment, we are literally the hands and the feet of Jesus that are walking into the places of their darkness, their shame, and bringing his love. And that's something that is completely other than, unlike anything they experience in their normal day-to-day. And so, as ambassadors of Christ, as Jesus lives within each one of us, we are carriers of his presence to this girl. And they are so hungry for love because they've not known love. The world has thrown the harshest, most depraved things at them. And so when you speak of love, it breaks down those walls if they'll let his love do that. And some of them want to shut it out because love has been painful in the past. The people that were supposed to love them hurt them, let them down. And so to trust that this love could be real, that this love could be different, it takes a great risk on their part to let love in. And so when we go there to love, we can't be like the others that have an agenda, that want something from them, that want to take from them, that want to get something from them. We have to love with absolutely no agendas. It's a free gift that the Lord gave each one of us. When God extends love to us, he doesn't have I'll love you if you do this, if you act like this, if you do this. He just loves freely. His love is a gift, and we receive it, and it's ours, and it's eternal, and it doesn't end, and it doesn't have expectations. It's free, it's given. And so as much as we can in our human frailty, we have to go to them in that way. And maybe they've never heard that before. It's a really simple message, and it changes everything. Prayer is really the place where we enter into how God feels about this issue. And it can never be that I care more about this issue than God does. He cares way more about this than we ever could. And he sees it, and he's able to, to respond and to act. And so when we pray, we are really entering into fellowship with him about his emotions and his feelings. And that's where he gives us strategies and how do we go to these girls. And so I think prayer is so foundational to everything that we do. We cannot be just motivated by the need. The need will always be there. We will always, have suffering and pain. That need will never go away. But if that's what motivates us, we will run ourselves ragged trying to address the need. We have to be motivated by God, that God sees. God feels the pain of what these girls are going through. God is wanting to act. He's wanting to respond. And because he cares and because he sees, and because I am connected to him and I love what he loves and I care about what he cares about, it's out of that place, connected to him, that it's the first commandment in the first place, that we will love the Lord and then we will love our neighbors. And, I think that will also be what sustains us, because these women, they will, some of them will never make it out. Some of them will go back. They'll get caught up in drug addiction, whatever it may be. There will be moments that just break your heart, but to know that God never will leave them or forsake them, that his love, though my love is feeble and it will run out, like his love covers them and pursues them and never stops pursuing them. And so I think that there's moments when you do everything you can in your human strength to reach out to these girls and to show them the way out. But there's moments where only God can reach them, and ultimately only he's the one that can really set them free. We absolutely need social services. We need very practical legal services. We need all kinds of practical needs for these girls to see them successfully come out of exploitation and live a whole normal life. But ultimately, at the end of the day, the only thing that is going to see them healed and whole is Jesus Christ. And that is something that we exclusively have within the church, is Jesus Christ. He is our message. He is our Savior, the lover of our souls. And if we don't go to these women and tell them who he is, who will? And so that is a unique role that we in the church have to take seriously. And we have to go. We have to be the front of the pack, the first responders on the scene, telling them who God sees them as, who you are to God. And so the church has to take responsibility in the fight against trafficking. And we need that in our restoration programs, in our outreach teams, in our prevention and reform work. We need that at every facet of addressing this crisis, this injustice of trafficking, but specifically to seeing these girls come out and meeting them in the place of their trouble. The church, we have authority to see darkness flee. When light hits the scene, darkness must flee. And so when we go to these ones in the place of their darkness, you better believe that darkness is fleeing. The guilt that they feel, the shame that they feel, that stuff has to go as Jesus begins to become real to her, to become a real man and a real person that loves her, that died for her, that went all the way to Calvary on her behalf, and who has a future and a hope that is good for her, that is full, that is whole, that is life. We get to go to them and tell them that good story. And that is a tremendous honor, and it's something that all of us within the church are called to do. Thank you so much for just giving your time to really hear what we're sharing here from Exodus Cry. It's something that few people want to look at, that few people want to see. It's a painful reality, but it's a reality that is facing our generation, and it's something that we can't afford to look the other way about. And so thank you for giving your time, for caring. And I just want to encourage you, whatever you might be feeling in your heart about this, to really say yes to the Lord. You might not know what you're saying yes to, or have a full plan of how you would walk this out. 1 year, 2 year, 3 years, how do I help a victim of trafficking? But say yes to the Lord and begin to pray. And I guarantee you that he will show you what your part to play is, what you are called to do. He never doesn't take us up on it when we say yes to him. So I encourage you to do that.